film begins by showing a blonde girl packing up her stuff, leaving out a photo with her dad in the picture. She's small, holding a trophy and being carried by her dad Jonas. Sadly, Jonas is in prison now, and he and the girl's mom got divorced because of some fighting at home. The girl's name is Noah and she's with her mom now. They're leaving their old home in town because it holds too many bad memories. Noah's mom's new husband is William and they're lucky because he's really rich. Their new house is like a palace, and today Noah gets to meet her new stepdad William. When Noah walked in, she was amazed to see the whole house covered in gold. There were fancy sports cars parked inside too. From now on, Noah will be living in this house and starting a new chapter of her life. Noah's mom really hopes her daughter will feel comfortable and adjust well to their new home and family. Hopefully she'll slowly forget the tough times they had in their old house. Now Noah's mom has shown her to her room and it's really something special with a view of the ocean. Taking in the view, Noah's first impression of this house was pure amazement. Noah even tells her mom it's pretty cool that she chose William as her partner. After unpacking in her room, Noah had some time to explore the surroundings. As she wandered, she noticed a figure in white behind some leaves. Feeling a bit nervous, Noah headed back inside to grab a sandwich from the fridge, unaware that the person in white was following her. The good-looking man turned out to be William's son named Nick. So now Noah and Nick are step-siblings. They figured out their family tree, but it's a blended family under the moonlight. Noah's first impression of her new older brother wasn't great. She thought Nick was way too full of himself, probably because he's rich. Tonight they're all having dinner together to try and bond. They were having fun joking around when suddenly Nick said he had to go meet some friends for business just as he was leaving the restaurant. He whispered something to Noah, but we don't know what. After Nick left, Noah suddenly said goodbye too, and William told Nick to make sure Noah got home safely. It's a way for them to get to know each other better. Now Nick has driven Noah home, but she keeps talking in the car. Nick is busy playing with the car because he's into racing. While they chat, Noah says something that upsets Nick. Without thinking, he slams on the brakes and leaves Noah stranded on a deserted road in the middle of nowhere. Noah is furious that Nick leaves her alone. At that time she doesn't know who to ask for help and her phone is almost dead. Noah has to flag down a passing black car for help, but she worries it might be dangerous, like a serial killer. Luckily Noah meets a nice guy named Manuel. They start talking and Manuel invites Noah to a party. It's full of young people all connected to car gangs. Manuel warns Noah to be careful because it's a gang gathering and the most dangerous gang is led by a guy named Ronnie. He has a snake tattoo around his neck and another one of a cobra coiled around him. Manuel says Ronnie just got out of prison yesterday and there are some other gangs around too. He introduces Noah to them. When the leader turned around, it was Nick, the top guy among the gang. Noah was shocked to see her older stepbrother flirting with all the girls around him. When Nick stopped to pee, Noah followed him, wanting revenge for being left alone on the road. There Nick teased her until he accidentally saw a tattoo behind her ear. Its meaning wasn't clear, but it seemed important. After Nick went back to partying, a friendly girl named Jenna approached Noah. She was also part of Nick's gang at that time. Jenna invited Noah to join in the fun. Soon after, Noah was approached by Ronnie. He offered Noah a drink that turned out to be spiked with drugs. However, Noah, not used to this fancy lifestyle and feeling pressured, reluctantly drank it. Shortly after, Nick showed up and quickly intervened, beating up the man who had caused trouble. It turns out Nick still cares about Noah and wanted to make sure he was safe. Nick then drove Noah home in his favorite red car. By that, Noah was already feeling drunk from the spiked drink. He couldn't walk properly anymore, so Nick carried him to his room to avoid anyone noticing. While Noah was lying down, Nick checked the tattoo behind his ear. Again, still curious about it, the next morning Noah woke up and immediately met with Nick to find out what happened last night. Noah was really worried. Then the day they had been waiting for a ride, Nick was going to race against Ronnie, who had just been released from prison at that time. Noah was there too. Finally Nick won the race. Seeing that Noah looked touched, and they all continued celebrating with dancing and partying. Later on she was spotted near another guy. Nick saw this from a distance and seemed to feel jealous or upset. He insisted that Noah stay in his car, worried something might happen. Meanwhile Nick went to find Janet to keep the party going. On the other hand, Noah, sitting in Nick's car, nodded happily, feeling nostalgic for the thrill of racing. At that time Nick could only stare in amazement as Noah drove his car like a pro, even racing against Ronnie. Suddenly everyone on the street got excited when they realized it was Noah driving Nick's car. This was how Noah started gaining recognition among the big car gangs in the city, but Ronnie came and argued that it wasn't fair. He said Nick should have been the one racing against him, even though Ronnie had originally challenged Noah to the race. With wide eyes, Ronnie demanded immediate payment from Nick. Sticking to the rules there, Nick agreed to pay Ronnie $246 million to settle everything, but Ronnie refused to accept it. To make things fair, Ronnie wanted the locks on Nick's red car changed. Without hesitation, Nick grabbed his car keys and tossed Ronnie aside, even though Noah strongly disagreed with Ronnie's attempt to twist the truth about his defeat. Ronnie warned Nick not to let Noah wander around if he wanted him to be safe. It was clear Ronnie was still bitter about losing. It's worth noting that Noah seemed to have a troubled past with his father from the beginning. Then Nick noticed Noah's injured hand from the fight and quickly wrapped it with a bandana. The next morning her condition was improving well, physically and emotionally. Until evening their parents were busy with their company's fancy event. Meanwhile Nick, who had just come back inside, spotted Noah lying alone on the sofa. Instead of going straight to his room, he decided to sit next to her. This was the first time Nick looked nervous around his younger stepsister. He started asking Noah how she managed to pull off those incredible turns in the race. Noah explained that her dad used to be a top racer and it trained her since she was little. She even won some races before. Nick was surprised to find out how cool she was. Noah also confided in Nick about the fear she still felt remembering how cruel her dad had been. It even tried to hurt Noah and her mom in the past, which left scars on her stomach. This traumatic experience made Noah want her dad to stay in prison forever. Soon after they kept exchanging glances. They slowly got closer until they realized they had secret feelings for each other. Even though they knew it was wrong being step-siblings, they couldn't out their growing affection, and they do the unthinkable. And while they do that, someone suddenly came the next morning. There was an amazing sight as Noel washed the car. Nick couldn't sit still at the dining table. He was leaning against a lamppost watching Noah. Soon after, a white car pulled up and it was Dan, Noah's boyfriend from out of town. At that time Noah was surprised to see Dan suddenly show up. Soon after, Nick rushed into the house and kissed Noah passionately. After that, from upstairs, Nick watched Noah and Dan through the window. Now Noah's mom had joined him inside. At that time Dan would be staying at Nick's house for a few days, which was sure to cause chaos. Despite being with Dan, Noah didn't seem to have feelings for him anymore. After finding happiness with her stepbrother every day, Dan always asks Noah to hang out away from the crowd, but their plans always get cancelled because Nick gets in the way. It's pretty obvious that Nick is just jealous. Meanwhile, Ronnie keeps scheming about how to kidnap Noah. It's all because of some old grudge he's holding on to. Then a mysterious man shows up just as ambitious as Ronnie himself. One day Nick is followed by Ronnie. After leaving a restaurant, Nick gets beaten up, but he manages to escape. Besides his love for racing, Nick also enjoys a good fight. When he HS back home rused and battered, he sees Dan heading into Noah's room. Then Nick decides to go to the garden to calm down and stare at the moon, feeling jealous. Surprisingly, Nick finds Noah lying on the porch. It seems like Noah is seeking refuge from Dan, his girlfriend. Nick sits next to Noah, and under the bright moonlight he notices a scratch on Noah's stomach. Feeling worried, Noah sees Nick bleeding and quickly helps him with a makeshift bandage soon after Dan, who had been searching for Noah, catches them kissing. This makes Noah realize that staying in this house isn't worth it anymore cause they've been caught together. Because of this, Nick and Noah start spending less time at home, consumed by their growing forbidden love for each other. Day and night they stick together, fearing any obstacle that might come between them. During one of these moments, Nick asks where did the moon come from and why was it created. Upon hearing that, it sparks their curiosity, but what's even deeper is when Nick tells Noah that if love is a sin, then they're the most sinful people around. Then one day, while Nick is buying a drink and Noah waits outside, Ronnie successfully kidnaps Noah. Within minutes, police and detectives are at William's house to figure out what happened. CCTV footage reveals Ronnie as the culprit. Meanwhile, Noah is found safe in a hidden room. Turns out the mastermind behind all of this turns out to be Noah's own father, Jonas. He's been released from prison and is now back in the picture. The mysterious man who was with Ronnie was actually Jonas himself. Jonas and Ronnie got to know each other while they were both in the same jail cell, so this whole situation is connected right from the start, leading to Noah being back in the hands of his father, who is driven by ambition, emotion and revenge. In the past, Jonas never received any visitors during his years in prison, and now it seems like his psychopathic tendencies are taking over. His main goal is to ruin William's happiness with Noah's mother. To carry out his plan, he takes Noah's phone and contacts his ex-wife, asking her to meet near the port, but Ju wants a suitcase of Eurus from William as per the agreement William made with Noah's mother at that time. The detectives are ready to catch Jonas when he shows up, but it's not that simple. Jonas is cunning. He set up hidden cameras to monitor their every move, making it hard to catch him. Finally, Nick remembered that there was a tracker in the car insurance. After locating Jonas, Nick quickly moved with a detective to put their plan into action. Under his father's threat, Noah returned to the racetrack with him, but things were different this time. With tears in his eyes, no one drove the racing car that belonged to his hero. In the end, Jonas was shot, Ronnie was caught, and everything was resolved. The